Welcome back to the Q&A podcast right here on Think Critical Patreon with everyone's favorite ray of sunshine, Doc, for a special holiday broadcast. Not only going to be on the Patreon, but the video will also be up on the YouTubes as well. Welcome back, Doc.
Oh, thank you, sir. And Merry Christmas to all that are listening. And yeah, this is awesome.
So you're in the Yuletide spirit? You're ready for Christmas?
I have to finish a little bit of stuff this afternoon, but yeah, otherwise I'm ready.
I'm good to go. My kids are basically ODing on Christmas spirit. They're out of hand. They cannot contain themselves. They're so excited for Christmas to be coming, basically in a day and a half. We're almost to the 24th here. So it's almost 11 p.m. while I'm recording this. So they're all up there. My wife has had to plan and take the kids to, I think, 5 or maybe 6 Christmas parties so far. So she's probably wore out pretty good. But otherwise, the spirits are very, very high in the Thinking Critical household.
That's awesome, man. It is that time of year for everybody to get in the spirit and spend time with friends and family. And don't let the weirdos convince you that, it sucks to spend time with your family. Try to get along with them.
Saying that? Are people actually saying that?
You know what? People have been doing this like, oh God, it's holidays. You have the weirdos that want to have people pick fights back at Thanksgiving during Thanksgiving dinner over politics. You have other people that always kind of dread spending time with their family because of whatever interpersonal conflicts. Man, let that shit go at least for a day.
Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And it's great to be a geek. We had a lot of good comic books last week. We'll see how this week comes up. And we've got some fantastic, and I do mean fantastic, questions for the Patreon backers. And we'll be answering all right here, obviously, on the Patreon. It'll be up there first. Then it'll be up on the YouTube. So I hope that you're ready for this, Doc.
I am. And let's get going.
Absolutely. First up is Sequence 909. aka Palindrome. Hey guys, not sure if my question was answered last podcast, but any Green Arrow comic recommendations?
Oh,
Longbow Hunters, Mike fucking Grell.
Yeah, Mike Grell, Longbow Hunters is absolutely right up there on the list. I really enjoyed the Kevin Smith, Phil Hester run on it. From the early 2000s. That's I think probably the only sustained period that I read Green Arrow. He was never really one of my favorite characters. I always thought he was I never really enjoyed the whole Robin Hood aspect of his design so much. But it works. Also, I completely disagree with, Oliver Queen on pretty much everything politically, but he makes valid points when he gets, kind of on his high horse sometimes. So it doesn't bother me. And I really enjoy hearing, an opposing point of view to my own, especially when it's presented well. And a lot of the, especially Mike Grell, Kevin Smith, feel like there was.
I think Jeff Lemire does a good job on the character.
Yeah,
this is a little bit more recent. I thought he was always good, but the other classic one out there is the Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Traveling Heroes, Denny O'Neil, which is absolutely classic.
That's, I kind of avoid that because it's more, it's not a Green Arrow centric book. It's a buddy story, and while it is wonderful, I don't consider it necessarily I don't consider it a Green Arrow or a Green Lantern story. It's a buddy story.
I like a good team up. What do you think about the Arrow show on CW?
You know what? For the first probably 3 seasons, maybe 4, it was actually really good. By the time that they made the entire supporting cast superheroes,
yeah, it said they did with Flash.
Yeah, Flash had the exact same problem. Everyone got fucking superpowers. And while it's nice, it kind of removes the humanity from them because they're no longer interacting with normal people. They're no longer the and especially in the case of Green Arrow, where he is like other than whichever iteration of Red Arrow you had, he's the only one without an actual like superpower.
Well, Batman doesn't have a superpower.
No. I mean, on the show.
Oh, I got what you're saying. So, yeah, I thought Arrow was okay. I thought Flash was better for a couple seasons, but all the CW stuff always devolved into who's screwing who and whatever.
And you know what? It is a teen angst network.
Yeah, I mean, I like One Tree Hill.
Yeah, and even Legends. After Flash stopped being the best show, Legends was the best show for probably 2 seasons, and then
I thought Legends was garbage from the first minute.
I thought the first couple of seasons were pretty bad. It wasn't until about like season 3 or 4 that got good, and it was only good for like 1, maybe 2 seasons.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely hard traveling heroes if you like a buddy team up, but certainly Longbow Hunter's the best Green Arrow story of all times. Kevin Smith has a good run. Jeff Lemire's also out there, done a good job. So hopefully that will satiate your Green Arrow fix. Another question from Sequence 909. Doc, what would be a storyline or plot you would love to see in an X-Men comic that actually hasn't happened yet?
That's a really good question. Back in the day, I would have said I wanted to see, Bishop's future and kind of a lot of the backstory there, but we eventually got a lot of that between that Cable series post Endangered Species and or maybe Messiah Complex, whichever one it was where Bishop kills Xavier. And we also got it in the lead up to Onslaught. I could say, here's the thing. If I knew what the story that I wanted to see was, I probably would have tried writing it.
You write X-Men fanfic?
No, I mean, I would have literally tried to get the gig and write it. I would have written up a proposal and submitted solicited the work. That being said, I feel like there's a lot that you can. I don't think there's much in the line of within current X-Men that I really want. I think it's going so far beyond the type of X-Men books that I want, and that unless you really kind of try to put that toothpaste back in the tube from probably the last 10 to 15 years, I don't know if you could do anything really interesting and good with them right now. I feel like there was a lot of, even a lot of like the Claremont abandoned plots somebody else eventually picked up on. We got the 12. We've got multiple iterations of the story of the 12. I'd like to see
Nightcrawler's true parentage, that it turns out that Mystique was actually his dad. Is that what you were looking for?
No, I was going to say that's not what I want. No, I think kind of a series set with Apocalypse's actual rise to power in, the 29th or whatever century, where he finally takes over the world, and that kind of ends when the mother Ascani brings baby Nathan to the future to save him from the techno-organic virus. They kind of hinted at it a little bit in that Rise of Apocalypse miniseries from 30 freaking years ago at this point. But it wasn't very good. I think I'd like to see that. I would like to see. I'd like to see a series set probably in that interim phase after, like, you know, all of the current X-Men are dead. Not X-Men 2099. I want something a little bit more, because X-Men 2099 was a little too, I don't know, dystopian. It was that kind of very future Blade Runner inspired 2099 world. I really don't care about that universe.
You don't like Cyberpunk?
It's not that I don't like Cyberpunk. It's that I didn't like that entire universe being nothing but Cyberpunk. It was too Blade Runner meets the Road Warrior. I don't know. I mean, I liked it for what it was. The X-Men really didn't quite fit there. And it seemed like none of the heroes had either good designs or good power sets, because anyone that was actually had a cool power set or design, they actually used in the regular X-Men title. And it was like all of the shit that got otherwise left on the cutting room floor.
Doom 2099 is pretty cool.
Doom 2099 is great because it's Doom. It's just Victor Von Doom brought to the future. But the X-Men 2099, you know what it reminds me of? It was like when in the early 90s, whenever they were late 80s, early 90s, when they were creating a lot of new mutants to add to the X universe. These are the ones that, just like when Jack Kirby was creating the Fourth World over at DC, he left a bunch on the cutting room floor, and those became the Eternals. The X-Men 2099 seemed like the leftovers that were left on the cutting room floor of that.
What would that make
90s.
the Children of the Atom?
Terrible.
Like the kernels of corn and the feces that you're just trying to pick something out of there? They were all terrible.
Well, you're talking the Children of the Atom. You're talking about that Battle of the Atom
book. I'm making fun of Vita Ayala, Doc.
That.
I'm not being serious here.
No. I honestly, those are just cheap knockoffs. Like, at least the X-Men 2099 were original characters and original heroes, and not just variants of existing ones, like with other people cosplaying them.
There you go. I got you to a glass is half full about X-Men 2099.
Exactly. I mean, they are the Eternals to the Fourth World of the X-Men from the early 90s.
Final question from Sequence 909. What do you guys think of the Superman trailer? I personally liked it and optimistic James Gunn can give us a cool and entertaining movie.
I liked it. Is it perfect? No. But is any trailer ever really perfect? Not really. It made me hopeful. You know what it reminded me of? The trailer and the trailer leading up to the Superman and Lois TV show, where you had that moment where Superman is wearing the original costume and he like kind of recreates that cover of Action Comics #1, and some kid, and he saves some kid, and the kid's like, "Hey, I really like your costume," and he just looks at the kid and he like, with the cheesiest grin on his face ever, he goes, "Thanks, my mom made it for me." Like, that is the most Superman thing, and this was it tapped into that same thing for me.
I think it's supposed to make you feel like the Donner movies, the first two.
It really does. It gives me that feeling. But I don't think it's taking itself. I think it's taking the material seriously, but it's not taking it so seriously that it's not having fun. And I don't think it's Guardians of the Galaxy level jokey, or the Suicide Squad, or whatever. However, I do think that it is it takes itself seriously without being grimdark the way that, Man of Steel. Yeah. It's a major, I feel like it's this wonderful medium between Superman 78 and that Superman and Lois TV show.
I don't know. When he grabs that girl and like protects her from the explosion.
Yeah.
That's a good moment. That's good shit.
Yeah, exactly. When all those the pressurized gas cylinders are exploding and he just protects her. That is so Superman. And I even liked Crypto.
I thought Crypto was great.
I don't like the fact that they didn't pick a golden retriever for it or a golden lab, but okay.
I like the Crypto's kind of little. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted just kind of like an average lab-sized dog.
All I know is that Superman trailer went on in Shakey's. I took the kids out and the wife for a little pizza the other day, and the Superman trailer was playing in there, and the kids stopped and they're like, "Oh, did you see the dog?" So I think the dog's going to work out for him.
I think so too. This is me just being a little bit too much of a comic purist. I like, because golden retrievers and golden labs are like the most quintessentially Americana dog, especially as a farm dog. And
I think a mutt is the most Americana dog in the world. We're the mutts of the earth, Doc. We've all been.
I understand that.
With each other.
I understand that, but the like a golden lab or a golden retriever it just makes sense for Superman. They have that same personality. I don't know if you've ever seen like the TikTok where the chicks will talk about boyfriends as types of dogs. And Superman is absolutely a golden retriever husband, and he'd have a golden retriever as a pet.
We shall see. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and so I enjoyed that quite a bit. Although it did look like Superman had taken a first-class beating in that one. I was also surprised to see Kellex in there. You don't normally see Kellex in like a live-action type thing. It didn't look like it went very well for him, but I thought that was another like kind of a cool throwback to comic books that you don't normally see in the movie adaptation.
I also really, really like that kid that played Beast in the First Class movies as Lex Luthor. Yeah, as Lex. I feel like he has the eyebrows for it.
He's got the eyebrows for President Lex.
Yeah, he does, but he even has he has a little bit of the eyebrows for even like Superman the animated series, like the animated adventures of Superman. Except for
I just feel like this is going to be like a more serious take on Lex, where you get to the first one with Gene Hackman. It's a good interpretation. It's fun, but he's kind of goofy. Yes. Then you get to the Kevin Spacey Man of Steel, and he's like trying to chew up scenery like he was in Waterworld or something, to where he knew it was a bad movie or whatever. He was playing like bad for the sake of bad. I think this is going to be a much more like grounded, evil take on Lex that you're like, yeah, this guy could take over the world.
You know what? I feel like it's a very similar text to take on Lex to the dude that Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville.
Why does everybody always go to him as being the best Lex? I don't get it.
Because he wasn't a like evil person. He was driven to it.
Mustache twirling?
No, he wasn't. Because I don't think any Lex is that guy. But I think that a good Lex is both ruthless, he cares for people, but he does not take well to being betrayed and his
He's
ego
also supposed
doesn't.
to be charming.
Yes.
People are supposed to be drawn to him, and he should be able to manipulate people easily because they think the facade of him feels like a good person.
Yes, and Gene Hackman didn't have that. Kevin Spacey didn't have that. That weirdo kid from fucking
that was the worst.
The
Pete Graney's Peach Tea or whatever. One of the worst like joke things in a movie of all times. I hated that moment.
Yeah. I hated that Lex, but Michael Rosenbaum felt the most like Lex. He was charming. He was affable, but he was also fucking ruthless and cunning.
Yeah. So I think they got that one weird. Right. You know, the haircut obviously on Guy Gardner is getting a lot of feedback, trending negative, but I think you're supposed to feel that way when you look at it. He's supposed to look like an idiot, and he does.
Well, yeah, that plus the fact that I feel like you're getting one still out of a very CGI heavy section with Guy Gardner. I don't think he's going to look as dumb when. I think he's still going to look dumb. It's still going to be a dumb
Nathan Fillion in a James Gunn movie is a punchline. He is in every single one of them. Like it's meant to be a joke.
Yeah. Wait, where was he in the first Guardians?
I don't think he was in the first Guardians, but he was certainly in the third one.
Yeah, I don't think he was in the first or the second one, but
yeah.
I don't think was he in the Suicide Squad too?
Were we talking about Suicide Squad or the Superman trailer? He's supposed to look like an idiot. He's going to be a fucking punchline.
Seriously. I know. I was just trying to figure out. Wait, Nathan Fillion. I didn't.
I'm not here to remember all the fucking bad movies I've watched. Suicide Squad wasn't terrible though. It was entertaining for what it was.
Yeah, I especially liked Sly in that one. But yeah, that's an entire other.
Mr. Fantastic, or I'm sorry, Mr. Terrific. Looks kind of dumb. I think it's because the actor they got is too skinny to play him. And the mask on him looks dumber than it should, but Mr. Terrific is a goofy design.
Well, yeah, he's not exactly Mr. Terrific is not exactly the greatest character design of all times.
He's got a good jacket. I love the Fair Play jacket.
Yeah. But you know what? I like this version of Mr. Terrific more than I like the one from The Flash, so it's already a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think there's lots of good stuff in there. We'll obviously have to see how it plays out. We haven't even seen a single line of dialogue, but I will say this: the actress looks pretty much like Lois Lane. I was like, yeah, she looks like her.
Yeah. Although I will say, the only objection that I have there is that because they made Clark look so young, it looks like he's cougar hunting if he's going to hook up with Lois. She looks too old for him. He looks like
he's an older chicks.
I know he looks
like his mother. Looking for a mother figure.
This Clark looks like he's about 23, 24. She looks like she's 38.
I wouldn't say that. But
she's 38 that's had Botox and fillers.
Jesus, man, you're being fucking savage on this lady. I think she looked perfectly fine. They look like a handsome couple.
I think that she looks like Lois, but a more middle-aged Lois. That's so.
I thought your big complaint was going to be his curly hairdo is Clark.
Oh, I mean, look, everybody that's over like 25 thinks that the broccoli haircut is the dumbest haircut known to man. It's worse than the bowl cut, and it's worse than the return of the mullet.
Yeah, I've got a mullet. Don't be talking about that.
Hey, I'm mullets. Not the return of the mullet. We're sitting there going, really? We didn't recognize that this was terrible. You know,
I loved my mullet when I was a kid. I might transition this motherfucker into a rat tail by the time we get to Dallas Fed Expo.
All right.
It's been a while.
See, I always just did long hair. But that being said,
he's supposed to look like a moron that you don't think or don't take too seriously and blends into the background. I think it works out perfect.
Well, that's the thing, though. The broccoli haircut for people that age is like sex appeal. I don't understand why.
I don't think so.
I guarantee it is.
I think you've got some TikTok brain rot or something going on.
As a dude whose girlfriend has kids in her late teens, the girls fucking like fawn over that shit. I don't understand why. That's why every fucking dude has it. Like every 17-year-old, every 17-year-old to 19-year-old kid has that fucking terrible haircut.
That's why we got to bring mullets back, dude.
And the girls go wild for it. So he looks too young. Lois looks too old as a result.
But he looks just dumb enough to not be taken seriously, at least by the audience or most of it.
Well, at least by the older audience, but for the younger audience, it's still more about the body posture than anything else.
I don't know. I thought the costume looked good. So in the end, I think the trailer looks fine for what it is. It's a teaser trailer. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of information there, but we got a superhero moment in there. We got the debut of Crypto with a pretty cool Crypto moment. We got to see some little Easter eggs. Probably too many characters, but we'll see how it plays out in the end.
Yeah, see, a lot of some of the, I guess, secondary villains in this, I don't think they need to really be fleshed out that much. You need to have Superman fight them, have them be an actual little bit of a threat until you build up to Lex in a power suit down the line.
Very good. Next up, we've got Brandon, a.k.a. the Midnight Phantom. Hello, Wesadot. Well, hello, Brandon. Thank you for the questions. It happened. Kraven opened with the worst ever box office in a Sony Spider-Man universe title. Its $11 million domestic opening is worse than Madam Web's 15.3. Morbius is 39. The movie cost over $110 million to make. The new Holland-led film is set to debut in July 2026. Rumors are the introduction of Miles in the MCU. Do you think Sony learned any real lessons, or will they try to expand this universe again? Will introducing Miles help build a whole new series of movies with an actor demanding less pay as Holland?
Well, I'm going to tackle these one by one. I think that they might be done now with the. I think they might actually pull the plug on the non-Spider-Man Spider-Man movies.
I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson looked like a perfectly fine Kraven if he was in a Spider-Man movie,
or if he actually played Kraven.
Well. I said look. I didn't say the core components of the character. Physically wise, he looked like
physically he was fine as Kraven. The problem was the story wasn't a Kraven story. There's no Spider-Man in it. Nobody gives a shit about Kraven when there's no Spider-Man. And everything else that they dropped the ball on.
I can't believe it did worse than Madam Web, though.
I can. There was a hype black hole. See, people went to see Madam Web, a few people, because the trailer looked so bad that they knew it was going to be a train wreck. This one, however, it doesn't have any of that same level of even, I want to go see the train wreck. It was just meh. It was, I don't even care enough to show up to see a train wreck, because the train wreck's not even going to be all that great. I knew that this was going to be an app. I knew it would end up worse than Madam Web. I told you that. You fought with me about it.
I still think you're wrong. I don't think it really happened. I think there's been misreporting. There's no way that Kraven the Hunter did worse than Madam Web.
I think it did.
The fucking Hadron Super Collider did its thing again. We're in a mad world.
No,
Things
we're
that
not.
Could have happened all of a sudden.
No, because all you have to do is make people not care, and they don't even show up to watch the disaster.
Yeah, they didn't really care about anything but Venom.
Yes.
Even then, that waned.
Yes. By the time you got to the third Venom movie, it was nobody gave a shit.
They totally ruined Carnage. Once you drop the ball in Carnage, it was like, why even stick around for this shit?
Exactly, because you had Cletus Cassidy. You had the perfect choice in actor for Cletus Cassidy, except for the fact that you gave him a shitty story. But
way.
regardless, I do think that they might still. There's still like a 5% chance that they move forward with that Sinister Six movie, and no.
I sure hope not.
There's like a 5% chance that they do, because I feel like they want to see if they. So
you don't think they learned their lesson?
I don't.
There is no universe without Spider-Man.
I don't think they completely learned their lesson. If they can convince Tom Holland or Tom Hardy to be Venom for a Sinister Six movie where they're fighting Null, they move forward with it. If they're not able to get Tom Hardy to play Venom for that movie, they don't move forward with it. The rest of the line dies, and they actually do learn their lesson. Now, as for Miles, well, they've already delayed Beyond the Spider-Verse. Is that the next one?
I think it's it's Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and I believe it's Beyond the Spider-Verse. Not only did they delay that movie, they fired the two guys that wrote the first two movies, Lord and Miller, and they're rewriting the entire thing, even though they had a lot of the animation, or at least a decent bit of the animation done on the third film, and that's why it's been pushed back. Yeah.
And then I heard something about the dude that voices Miles. What's his name? Is he that Shamar Moore guy? I heard there was something to do with him, some sort of, I guess, controversy. I don't know.
Should make more.
Yeah. I heard that there was some sort of controversy with him happening right now. I don't know if it's oblivious. Because I mean, fucking who?
No, why would they do the voice actor for the real thing? If they're going to introduce Miles into the MCU.
Oh, no. I meant with the. I don't think that they do introduce Miles to the MCU.
Well, that was the question. So you don't believe it's going to happen?
I don't.
They should have done all these Spider-Man villain movies with Miles as Spider-Man. They had their alternate Spider-Man.
Yeah, they had the opportunity to do it, but they also knew that it wouldn't work.
How do you know it wouldn't work? Spider-Man's a huge
because brand. Nobody gives a fuck about Miles.
Well, the Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse movies would say otherwise.
You have two things. One, you have fanboys that just want to go see an animated comic book movie, and they won't follow around for a Miles live action. I'm telling you.
We don't know that. They never even tried. I'm just saying that I would have done that before I did what they did.
I'm telling you it won't work, because the only thing that has a draw here, How
about this one, Doc? What is more likely to work? Spider-Man villain movies without Spider-Man, or Spider-Man villain movies with an alternate Spider-Man in there?
I'd say the second, but all you're doing is choosing you're choosing between which will perform poorly better.
Oh, I don't know.
Because here is the people that liked the Spider-Verse. You had a bunch of children that aren't going to go see a live action Spider-Man movie, and the kids, the real young kids that like cartoon movies, and fanboys that wanted to see an animated superhero movie. That's who the draw was. So you had the right character for and you know what? I guarantee if they would have done the Spider-Verse movies, the animated Spider-Man movies with Peter Parker instead of Miles Morales, it doesn't matter. Okay, what were they, like 800 million? One was
I'm not
feel
doing
like
the research. You're saying
Okay.
it would do better with Peter Parker. That's
it would
your
have
point,
done
correct?
it would have absolutely 100% done better with Peter Parker.
I don't think
And
anybody would deny that, but it still performed well enough to get 3
and-
movies with Miles Morales.
yes, and if you switch from Peter Parker to Miles Morales in the live action movies, you're going to see even a more precipitous drop in box office.
I'm not suggesting that. I don't think anyone's
that's the whole point
that.
of no, that was actually the question. Are they going to introduce Miles so that they could eventually replace him in the MCU? The answer is they'd be stupid.
To build a whole new series of movies with a less demanding pay actor than Tom Holland, I would assume that's over at Sony and not in the MCU, because Tom Holland is the MCU Spider-Man. You can introduce Miles in the MCU and then spin it off into your own Miles live action Spider-Man Sony movies.
I am 99% sure that the deal between Sony and Marvel or Disney at this point is for live action Spider-Man movies, not Peter Parker Spider-Man movies, live action Spider-Man movies. So even then, you still don't get a live action Miles in your not Spider-Man verse.
Maybe.
And additionally,
I think they can make any Spider-Man movie they want.
And additionally, the question was, would they introduce Miles to get a cheaper actor, which then implies you're replacing Tom Holland.
I don't think they're replacing Peter Parker Spider-Man in the MCU. I think they hired Tom Holland because he was young.
Yes, they hired Tom Holland because he's young and he has a lot more time that he can play Spider-Man than either Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire did. 100% agreed there. But are they going to, they're not going to do a series of live action Miles Morales movies unless they want to just demonstrate on an even larger scale how much people don't give a shit about Miles when they are presented with the option for Peter.
We'll see. There you go. Way to go, Brandon. You got Doc talking down to me like I'm an idiot. What the heck, man? I would have tried the Miles approach on this Sony stuff. Next up, it's being reported that James Gunn has interest in bringing Matt Reeves' Batman into a Superman universe. Despite reports it's an off-world story or else-world storyline, but the two may be clashing on who gets creative control. I don't see this as having any truth, but what if it has merit? Do you see the two in a film together? And if so, would you want Reeves or Gunn at the helm? They have very different tones.
It's not going to happen. Matt Reeves isn't going to give up control of his little franchise.
And they're spitting out their own little universe. You got the Penguin show. We're going to get other shows.
And James Gunn's going to want to cast his own Batman. He's going to want to cast his own Batman, decide the tone of his own Batman, assuming DC even lets him. Because DC may decide we're not doing a Batman in the James Gunn universe.
You have to have a Batman in the James Gunn universe. They've already announced a film.
Oh, was it Brave and the Bold?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he wants his own. I guarantee James Gunn.
I think having two Batman is stupid. I understand the concept of Elseworlds, but if you have an ongoing, continuing Batman universe, they probably should combine them. But I don't think they will, because I don't think Matt Reeves is going to want to give up on creative control, and I don't think James Gunn is going to want to cede that to Matt Reeves.
In fairness, though, here's. And this is my conspiracy theory brain, because as it stands right now, there is still not a script for or a sequel to Matt Reeves' Batman. I don't know if any have been submitted. I'm betting there have been scripts submitted. I'm betting they've all been rejected. And I'm betting they're waiting to see how Superman performs before whether they decide to completely axe the Matt Reeves universe.
That would piss a lot of people off that just invested in Penguin.
Okay. You think Warner Brothers gives a shit about pissing people off? The thing that they care about is confusing the audience. They've done it enough already. They did it with the Snyderverse. They don't want to confuse the audience by having Batman 2 or The Batman 2 and, hey, look, Batman's in the Brave and the Bold in this universe that we're doing that has no connection to this other universe that we're doing. They'll continue.
And there's another Joker too, with another Joker in another universe.
Yes, exactly. I think that they threw a bunch of stuff at the wall because the Matt Reeves Batman film was greenlit before they had decided to completely axe the Snyderverse. But they weren't really sure what they were doing. They didn't know if they were going to create another universe. That it was during one of their many periods of fucking, multiple personality disorder that they have when it comes to DC Studios, or DC Films.
All right, you want to hear my hot take, Doc?
Huh?
The Batman, pretty fucking mid.
I didn't think it was very good at all. I watched it. I mean, the only thing that I did like about The Batman is for the first time since what? The fucking, which is the one with the Riddler and Two-Face? He actually did
Returns. It's Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. I couldn't remember if it was Batman and Robin or Batman Forever.
Batman and Robin has got Mr. Freeze.
Oh, it's Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy and Bane. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the first time since that, he did a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of reasoning in order to come to a conclusion and detect something. But that was mostly him just detective stuff. Yes, yeah. They did a little bit of detective in our world's greatest detective movie. For the first time. He has never been an actual detective in any of the other Batman movies. So that was the only thing the only praise that I gave it. I didn't like the Batmobile. I didn't like Twilight Boy as Batman.
You didn't like emo Batman?
No, I didn't like the Catwoman that they had in it.
I liked her.
Zoe Kravitz? Yeah, I didn't like her as Catwoman. I thought that it's a waste of time to put Colin Farrell in a fat and ugly suit.
He's great.
I'm not saying, no, he's a great actor. That's the problem. It's kind of like when they stick Guy Pearce in, they age him up or stick him in a fat suit too. You're like, but why?
He's so handsome. I want to see his chiseled features.
All wrinkly. No, but like, look, there was not much about that, and I fucking hated the Riddler in that movie.
He was the Riddler.
Yeah,
it's like some weird serial killer from
just some weird fucking. You know what he was? He was the villain from
the Son of Sam or something.
No, 8mm.
Yeah, that was a shitty movie.
Yes, it was.
Pretty gross too.
Yes, it was. But he was the villain from 8mm. That's what he fought. He fought a BDSM freak. Okay, fine, I guess. None of it felt like actual Batman.
Yeah, it probably should be in the James Gunn Superman universe.
No,
doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit, and I think that they're going to axe that movie and that whole line, except for maybe keep the Penguin TV show going. If it does good numbers, if it's still doing good numbers on season 2 for Max.
Next up from Brandon, I watched the Superman trailer, and looking from a monetary standpoint, I won't downplay its importance to getting fans motivated to spend their money at theaters. I think James Gunn nailed it for the most part, and that's all he really needed to do. My 5-year-old instantly loved Crypto, the super dog, which I imagine seeing in kids' toys, spin-off animated things now. All in all, this movie can finally create the groundwork for a universe that's big. The darker tone Snyder films missed the mass market opportunity for families, but this movie might not. Do you see families going to this film, kids buying merch, etc.? Absolutely. My kids had the same exact reaction. My 5-year-old especially, but certainly my 9-year-old.
100%. This is going to be a family-friendly film. It's going to have family appeal. It feels very aspirational and inspiring, which is, I think, we've seen a bit of a cultural shift in America towards we want to find a better future, a more optimistic approach instead of the malaise that everybody has felt and seen and everything for the last good number of years, in which a lot of people had pushed for at least the last 12 to 16 years. I feel like there's a major cultural shift where people want to be hopeful for the future. And it seems like James Gunn's already tapping into that with the approach to this film. Yes, it's a beaten and bloody Superman, but it's a guy that's not giving up. It's kind of
a dog licking his face.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a Rocky-esque. It gave me a slightly Rocky-esque vibe.
There you go.
But I think that will appeal, especially to families.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of kids, when they saw that dog, were probably immediately in love.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Keeping on Superman, the sheer number of characters is alarming for a first film, but Gunn's approach is said to be in the middle of the action. What do you think of having this many characters in the film when the need is to establish a new Superman?
First of all, nobody needs another Superman origin story. Literally no one. Even 6-year-olds know Superman's origin story. They can cover it in 10 seconds in a flashback if they need to.
I hope I never see Krypton again.
Exactly. Secondly, as I said earlier, I don't think a lot of these secondary and tertiary villains are really going to matter that much. They're going to get slightly fleshed out, but they're mostly there as cannon fodder so that it gives Superman. He's already an established Superman. You're establishing the level of threats that Superman already deals with on a regular basis, or a semi-regular basis, so that when an even bigger threat comes along, it doesn't seem like it's his first fucking day out of, without his training wheels on.
And also establishing that the powers that be, in the form of Maxwell Lord in this case, have already set up their superhero team with Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl, and maybe inadvertently they're fighting against the people, and where it's like Superman and Hope is something that's really counterculture. What I do think is really going to tap into people. I think they're going to get what James Gunn's trying to lay down there.
Yeah, actually, I believe so as well. I feel like you're going to still have like your obligatory Trump derangement syndrome. So you think it's going to be woke? Somebody was saying the trailer was woke. No. I don't think that it's that. I think they're going to. I think either Maxwell Lord or Lex Luthor are going. I think it might be Maxwell Lord is going to be a little bit more than Lex Luthor as the kind of Trump stand-in of everything that's wrong with the world, and I feel like they're going to do a little bit of that. I don't think it's going to be overpowering. I think it's just going to be eye rolling and by my math, about 51% of the country is going to sit there and go, just kind of roll their eyes. Oh, look, another Hollywood leftist with Trump derangement syndrome. Fine, let's just move on. We're used to it at this point. I don't think it's going to be over the top lecturing and browbeating. I think that he'll hold back. I think Warner might force him to hold back from too much of that, but it's going to be enough to let you know where his personal opinions are, and everybody else sitting there going, man, you got this so fucking wrong. And
my assumption is that every time they interview whoever's going to play a villain, no matter what the movie is, we're like, I was trying to channel my inner Trump. And that's who was really inspiring my portrayal of this villain.
Exactly.
In every interview. It's always as gay as the last time you heard it.
Yes. It is always as gay and retarded as the last 43 fucking idiotic actors who feel like they are morally superior to everyone else, even though they have less education than my fucking dog.
And they were there when Diddy was doing all that Diddy stuff. They were part of it. Don't lecture me, you fucking the hedonistic fucks.
Yep. And I say this as somebody that's a hedonistic fuck.
I saw LeBron James in that fucking that maid's outfit. That was weird.
Yep.
You ain't got the legs for it.
But at the same, so I feel like you're going to get some of that, but I think it's going to be toned way the hell down, and it's going to be a couple of eye rolling moments that you could probably get past without any major, I'm pissed off and I'm going to walk out of the theater kind of level of irritation.
Next up from Brandon, Jared Leto is being cast as Skeletor. I know very little about Masters of the Universe films, but I know a potential bomb when I hear one. What do you think about the casting? At this point with Jared Leto, anything that he's in makes me not want to watch it.
See, I don't mind Jared Leto. That's the thing.
He just goes too weird on everything. It's lost any type of appeal to me. He's weird for the sake of being fucking weird. Even the Blade Runner movie that I thought was good, Jared Leto, easily the worst part about it.
Okay.
His take on Joker fucking sucked.
Well, yes. I don't know if he necessarily had a lot of control over that, turning him into a, thug, like where he's all fucking, hood, like ghetto Joker. But, that seemed a little bit more inspired by, the version from All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, the Miller Lee book. But regardless, I feel like Jared Leto he's going to get into that cackling, ridiculous Skeletor that you kind of need to make Masters of the Universe. Like, it needs to be just a little cheesy.
It's going to be on Earth. It's going to suck. It's not even going to be in Eternia, so who cares? That's my.
Are we sure? Are they going to make the same mistake that the 80s version did?
Yes, that's the word on the streets.
If it's on Earth, then it's already destined to fail. It doesn't matter who you cast as anyone because it's not in Eternia.
Yeah, you need Battle Cat. How the hell was that not in the first movie?
I know.
Yeah, and there's no Dolph Lundgren can't play fucking He-Man anymore. He was born to play that fucking character. They still messed the movie up.
Yep. So look, if it's set on Earth, it doesn't matter if Jared Leto gives the performance of a lifetime as the most over-the-top cackling Skeletor in history. It's already destined to fail because He-Man on Earth is a dumb idea. And anyone in Hollywood that is going to say, hey, let's put him on Earth, needs fucking beat with a club.
And Jared Leto just needs to do a normal role again. And then maybe I could take him fucking seriously. Next up from Brandon, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Mufasa the Lion King, 2 films timed right for families. Sonic the Hedgehog is expected to come out on top domestically with 55 to 60 million this weekend. Mufasa the Lion King is on track for 50 million. My son loves the Sonic franchise and sees no sign of slowing down. Does Sonic beat the Lion King franchise at the box office? I think it's actually murderizing it, isn't it?
I think so. I think it beat it rather handily. I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I think it beat it really handily. The thing is, people have lost any give a shit about live action Disney remakes. of their animated movies. In fact, if they're going to do anything, I think they want to go.
Sonic did 58 million. Mufasa did 35. So Mufasa greatly underperformed.
Yeah, because everybody keeps thinking that there's still an audience for these live action remakes of Disney classics. There isn't.
Mufasa is not a classic; it's original. And I was like, why are they doing like no one cares about the fucking Mufasa origin story?
Oh yeah, I forgot that it wasn't just a live action adaptation of The Lion King. Forgot Mufasa's the dad.
But
yeah, nobody cares. Nobody wants.
So I saw The Jungle Book, which I was interested in, and I think as an achievement, it's done pretty well. Then I saw, what was it, Beauty and the Beast? I was like, I don't think I'm interested in these anymore. And then I think I saw one more, and I was like, never again in my fucking life am I going to see one of these live action remakes that's like wholly fucking animated.
Yeah, it's all 3D, CG.
But my kids do fucking love some Sonic the Hedgehog. They love those movies, and they'll definitely be watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Look, Sonic is good fun and not. I mean, it's the obvious cash grab in that, hey, people like Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's give them Sonic the Hedgehog that they like. And then they do. Disney's is, hey, let's triple dip on the thing that we've already sold them multiple times and just do a slightly different skin on the outside and get them to pay for it again. At least the Sonic movies are original movies. Mufasa is an original movie nobody wanted to see in a format that nobody cared to see it.
Yeah. I don't get it. So I've had to watch these Sonic the Hedgehog movies so much. And the first time, it's kind of like, whatever. It's, it's a kid's movie. But now that I've had to watch them both, like, probably 10 times each, I don't love them.
Well, I mean, I liked the first movie. The second movie wasn't as good.
Like Boss Baby, I could watch me some Boss Baby all day long, even though that's not a very good movie. I find them far more entertaining than Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But the kids lose a little minds over it. They go, wait.
Well, I mean, look, it's got a target demographic. They are not the most infinitely rewatchable movies.
That's my 5-year-old.
Okay, fine.
Was there a movie that you could watch over and over again when you were a kid?
Probably.
This is a true story. Remember back in the day where you could go to McDonald's and it was around the holidays, and if you bought a Big Mac for like $3, you could get a VHS of a movie.
Yeah.
And one of them was Home Alone.
Yes.
We had seen Home Alone in theaters, and my younger brother, Derek, loved that movie. My grandma went and bought a Big Mac, got him a copy of Home Alone, and I swear for the next 3 months, we watched that movie. I'm not exaggerating here. 100 fucking times. He would literally just watch it, rewind it, and hit play again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids can just do that stuff.
Not surprising. Yeah.
Home Alone's a good movie, though.
My fucking nephew is that with Up.
Oh, Up's a great movie.
Up's a great movie.
Pixar movie of all time.
Yes, but he just watches that movie over and over. And Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6 is actually pretty good too.
It's also a wonderful movie. But
I'm surprised they didn't do a sequel to that. That was cool.
I don't think they were ever able to get it off the ground. They
have an animated show.
They did, but I don't think
stuff in there though.
Yeah, and I don't think that they were able to get the second movie. I don't think they were ever able to put together a script, and by the time that I think that they just stopped trying because they weren't able to strike while the iron was hot enough.
I wish they do another Big Hero 6 movie. I enjoyed that one.
I did too, but
yeah.
I think that Big Hero 6 and Up are more rewatchable than the Sonic movies, but
100%.
they're I think
Star Wars.
No, they're not Star Wars. There's not Indiana Jones. Hell, they're not even Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Next up from Brandon, Disney Plus is reporting a first ever profitability, rising prices on subscriptions, canceling poor quality programming as the big drivers. Has Disney actually learned a lesson, or is this basic economics? I think they've just moved and cooked their books. That's what they do.
I believe so as well. I believe that
supposedly Andor season 2 cost $280 million. I don't think they learned their lesson.
No, because almost nobody watched that show when it was on. They watched it late, like
it's
months
a good show,
and months later.
That's a lot of money for a fucking TV show.
Well, remember, I mean, that was a show that did so poorly on launch that they ended up shoving it on Hulu as well, and then they ended up shoving it on FX. In order to
we're not here to trash Andor, which is a great show. I'm just saying I don't think Disney's learned anything, and I think what they do is they just move their money around.
Yes,
say, we're profitable here now.
You move money from pocket to pocket. You suddenly claim advertising revenue as, somehow once, as actual streaming revenue. You count the
expenditures for Disney Plus, but you count them against whatever, Pixar,
Disney Network,
fucking Marvel Studios, stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's how you get to that point, because Disney has sworn up and down that they needed like 7 years to get themselves profitable on Disney Plus, and we're hitting that point now.
I think it's 4 years. They launched in the pandemic.
Was it
in 2020? Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like 2018, but okay. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember. Time, last month was 1997 to me. But regardless, they need to
November 2019.
Okay. They need to not fail to meet that prediction. And regardless of how they do it, no matter how they cook the books or move money from one pocket to another in order to claim that, and they will have, and then this inexplicably lost money. This other thing that is normally profitable. Because you moved all your losses from Disney Plus to that. Look, streaming is as a sole platform where you are making product for your own platform, keeping your stuff exclusive and not licensing it out to other services is not a recipe for profit. It is a recipe as a loss leader to get people more invested.
Massive debt. Yes.
It is a loss leader at best. I don't know where the profit comes in. At least Best Buy's, back in the 90s and 2000s, when they were selling CDs and DVDs for below cost, their whole business model was they drag you in with CDs and DVDs and then try to sell you a TV. I don't understand. Disney's is what? To get you to sign up for streaming services and then take a fucking cruise? Yeah, that's it. It's not the same. You can't do it the same way, and that's how they're treating it. As a result, I feel like they're just absolutely cooking their books. They cannot go back to the shareholders again and say, oh, and by the way, I know we said 4 years ago that this would be profitable by 2025. It's 2025. We are still losing tens and tens of millions of dollars every quarter on this streaming service, because Disney shareholders will start to revolt. They are already having enough share price problems for the last few years. They can't afford additional reasons to cause the shareholders to start selling off. And eventually you need to get to the point where otherwise everybody's going to realize that Netflix's original model was the best model and that's where it needs to go back to.
Next up from Brandon, Disney has Snow White set to launch in March with a budget over $200 million. This is the biggest bomb of 25. So you're underselling the budget by quite a bit. The number I've actually seen is much closer to $270 million. And that's what they've actually reported thus far. And they've had to do reshoots. They've replaced the dwarves. They've done all kinds of stuff. And they are advertising it, or I'm sure they're going to advertise it quite a bit. So I believe the production budget itself is much closer to $300 million. And yes, I believe it will be the biggest bomb of 2025. But if the American family starts trusting Disney again, and it feels like maybe they are starting to do that, there may be a chance. But I do think there's enough stink on Snow White, this live action thing, and certainly seeing with what happened with Mufasa and some of the other recent live action stuff, I think it will probably go down in a blaze of glory.
I don't think the American family and public has turned any corner on Disney. I think that they are just as...
Inside Out 2 was one of the most successful movies of the year. Moana 2 outperformed expectations, although it didn't do as well as the first film.
Yeah, and I think that those are both being looked at as Pixar movies, not Disney.
Well, Moana's not a...
I understand that.
That's a Disney movie.
Yeah, I understand. It's a Disney princess movie. But I think that Inside Out 2 was looked at as a Pixar movie, not a Disney movie. I think Moana still has some interest. I don't think anything Disney live action is going to ever make money again. I mean, like their live action remakes, I don't think any of them will ever make money again. In fact, depends on what they do. I don't know which other ones they have in the pipeline.
They're doing
right now.
live action Moana with The Rock.
I don't think
the
that
character.
I don't think that makes a profit.
I hope it doesn't.
I love The Rock. I mean, I'm still a Rock fanboy. That being
Thank goodness, because Aaron's been shitting on The Rock for like 18 months straight. I can't take it anymore. He doesn't like the most electrifying man in entertainment today.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
So while I am a huge Rock fanboy, I don't think that makes... Yes, I don't think that makes money. I don't think any... And I will just make this a blanket statement. I think that every single Disney live action remake or sequel or prequel to an existing animated movie that they're now doing in live action, I think every single one from now until probably the end of time loses money. People don't want it.
You don't want a live action Fox and the Hound?
No.
Kurt Russell returning to voice the farmer instead of the fox?
No.
Oh.
Nobody wants this.
Fox and the Hound is a great movie.
Like, the general public is actively rejecting this business model, and you're still doing it. You're still greenlighting new ones. You're fucking dumb, Disney. But I don't think
White's going to bomb hard.
I think Snow White bombs phenomenally hard. I think that they're going to try hiding how hard it bombs. I think that this movie gets very, very unceremoniously ignored. I don't think they throw the money at the advertising. I think they throw $100 million at it. Max. They're gonna see initial kind of reactions to the first wave of advertising, and they are going to pull the plug on additional advertising.
Next, Brandon moves on to the comic books. So much DC, and frankly, after reading really bad Marvel last week, I needed a break on DC Comics this week. But did we get one? No. Tom King, fuck off with that issue. I'm assuming he's talking about the latest Wonder Woman issue, where Detective Chimp was Columbo.
Sure, why the fuck not?
It wasn't very good, shockingly, right?
Oh, wow. No.
It was good bad.
Wonder
Why
Woman
would
is a bad book written by a bad writer who is one note. Like, look, there's certain writers out there that are, whether they're any good or not is kind of irrelevant to the fact that they only have one story to do. Jason Aaron only has one thing to do, and it's fundamentally fuck up a character on a foundational level to the point where when they put them back together, they don't resemble anything close to what you actually liked about the character in the first place. Tom King is mommy issues in midlife crisis. That's Tom King. That's his entire shtick.
Yeah, Detective Chimp has never been Columbo in his life, so that was pretty strange. Ruined good art once again, or a good artist. It was just Columbo Chimp interrupting. The dumbest thing about it, he's interrupting the Sovereign, trying to make him accidentally walk into admitting that he's the one that killed Steve Trevor because he's investigating Steve Trevor's death. The reader already knows that he did it.
Yeah.
And we know how he did it. We saw exactly how it was done. So it's not even a mystery to the reader.
No, it's not. Look, I mean, if you're going to make him be anybody, make him be fucking Sherlock Holmes.
Well, how about not investigating something that we already know the answer to?
Yes.
If you wanted to do an investigative issue, you show that he died and hint that it could be the Sovereign, but nobody can prove it. And then he does the detective issue. We already know exactly how it was done.
Yeah. So we really don't. The whole point of it is so that Wonder Woman and Detective Chimp can know how it's done. We already know.
Wonder Woman's not any part of this. She's just getting her kid baptized. It was just another throwaway issue. So thankfully, he did read the usual greats, Conan the Green Lantern. Yeah, that Green Lantern, Green Arrow book was a lot of fun. Conan certainly was really, really good. We actually had some really good books next week.
I would buy a Conan the Green Lantern book.
Conan is a Green Lantern, absolutely great. But if you want Conan as Iron Man, you can do XMen.
Yeah.
That's what to do. On to the news of Joe Kelly as a new ASM writer. Did Joe show his hand already with the awful 8 Deaths of Spider-Man storyline? Can we expect Joe to actually find a voice repeater that isn't him doing a Type 5 stand-up routine during battles?
Repeat that?
Do we think that Joe's going to do something a little bit better than what he's done with Peter in 8 Deaths of Spider-Man? Is this what we're going to get?
Yes. I feel like it's going to probably be a little bumpy at first, but he's going to get into a groove. He doesn't have to share direction with somebody else. He doesn't have to fit into some other storyline that's sort of kind of going on. He's going to be able to do his own thing with Spider-Man, which I think
he got to do that with Nonstop Spider-Man and Savage Spider-Man, and those suck too.
But it was, first, Nonstop was actually pretty good. Savage was just weird. But
same
he's
story.
Also, I know it's a continuation of the same story. But my point here is I think he has a better chance of being successful. I don't think he's going to go full stand-up comic routine. I think he's going to write a Spider-Man story.
I'm going to go in expecting the worst, and if that doesn't happen, I will be greatly relieved and happy.
I think that it's going to take him a few issues to really get into a groove, but I think it's going to be I think it'll be a solid Spider-Man story. That's my big hope here. Just a good. I feel like if he gets to write it as more soap opera and less story arc, it will work out best for him because that's his strength.
Let's move on to making Doc not hopeful about the future. How can we expect X-Men to be as a whole next year? The revamping of another repeat Professor X storyline is fatiguing. Is there any joy for X fans in 2025? I hate X-Men right now, and I see little hope in the solicitations.
Well, my joy for X-Men in 2025 will be seeing all the books that launched this year getting canceled and replaced by other solo girl characters that can't carry their own title next year, and them act like it's not just them repeating the exact same failure that they just demonstrated, and that the first time wasn't a failure. They told the story they wanted to in an ongoing book that lasted 9 issues.
I don't even know what the direction of X-Men is. It's just
there isn't one.
It just sucks. It's awful.
There is no direction. The direction is keep Tom Brevoort employed for another 3 or 4 years until he turns 65 and can collect his pension and his 401 and his Social Security without any punishment. That's the direction of X-Men.
And the worst reveal about this fucking X-Men hunt was that at a minimum, we're still going to have Exceptional X-Men, NYX, and X Factor until March.
Yeah. And I think that'll probably wrap up most of those series. You might get another issue or 2 after that. But that'll be the end of those books. And you'll start hearing in January, I'm betting, right after Christmas, when there's normally slow news. They'll announce their next wave of X-Men books, and then quietly in the background they'll announce all the cancellation on the first wave of X books and the early parts of the second wave of X books.
Yeah, there's no hope for X-Men fans in 2025. It's going to be awful.
No, because they don't see a problem with what they're doing. Spam out book, convince idiots to buy it for 9 months until they realize they hate it and it doesn't have any direction, and they start dropping it and already have 3 books as replacement lined up that are also going to repeat the exact same pattern. It's a shell game in the X office at this point, and until you have somebody that's an actual editor and actual creators that aren't just borderline scam artists, that's what you're going to keep getting.
Next up for Brandon, the Ultimate Spider-Man released the biggest FU to fans with an issue all about the Watson family and Zero Heroics. Is this the new formula for a $4.99 comic book? Does Hickman simply wish to write a sitcom or a drama? This is not a hero comic, nor has it been for quite some time.
Jonathan Hickman wants to write world building. He wants to write D&D manuals. He wants to write, the Bibles for sci-fi and fantasy and superhero universes. He doesn't want to write comic books. He's milling about the same way he did on X-Men. He set something up with House and Powers and then proceeded to not do anything and not advance any plots for 20 issues before he left. And this is exactly what he's doing here. He set up a new universe. He set a thing that's going to happen in the future. And then he doesn't have anything to do in the interim, so he treads fucking water.
But he did it well.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to see the comic book equivalent of treading water, go buy a Jonathan Hickman comic these days.
What a huge waste of freaking Marco Cicchetto. Great artist.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't say that issue 12 was the biggest FU to Spider-Man fans. There's been bigger ones. It's just a...
I thought the dinner party, like, date night was way worse.
Yes, because you're 3 issues into a comic and you're doing a 2-part dinner date, double date comic. no. I mean, especially when these books are supposed to happen a month apart. Why are you doing a 2 month? Why are you wasting 2 straight months on one date?
Well, and why is anyone even talking about Spider-Man? We hear about the paper, the online publication for J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker, and our biggest story, all our coverage is on Spider-Man. Why? He's not doing anything. He's stopped one crime in the entire year that he's been Spider-Man. Why would you even cover him?
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's not news.
I don't understand why their readership cares about covering him, because he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing.
Other than the fact that maybe they just like seeing a guy in spandex swinging around.
Well, I think they want to see Peter and MJ together, but you don't even see that much.
No. I meant the audience of the paper. They just want to see pictures of a guy swinging through the sky.
Have you seen him swinging through the sky in spandex much in Ultimate Spider-Man?
No, that's the problem. But apparently there's photographs apparently there's photographs of it every day.
Oh, I'd like to see that part of the story.
Yeah. I'd like to see the story that actually happened that justified the story that's in the paper.
The one this week. We get the big reveal that Craven's got Peter obviously kidnapped along with Harry Osborn. Yeah. It's a great ending. It was exciting stuff.
But we didn't. I mean,
kind of like to see how they got taken.
I feel like the next issue is going to be a flashback to how they got taken.
Well, that'll be more exciting than this.
Yeah. I mean, what this was fine, but it's not what anybody wanted. We've gotten enough of this.
Yeah. Next up from Brandon, the focus on Doom in 2025 is nice, but handled by current Marvel creative. I'm torn on buying into an event marginally better than Blood Hunt.
Well, first of all, the creative behind it is terrible.
Well, it's going to be way bigger than Blood Hunt. It's going to be 9 months.
Yeah. Second, it's too early. You're doing this story too early. This is the whole point of doing a major Doom story is synergy with the MCU. We're at least 2 years away from Doomsday coming out. So this is going to end before that even comes out.
Well, who cares? Okay, we're not here for movies. We're here for the comic books.
I understand, but once again, this is this retarded way of because here's what you're going to have. You're going to have this 9 months of Doom taking over the world and ruling the world just in time so that by the time the trade paperback comes out, it's 6 months old when the movie comes out. And then when the movie comes out, we could expect Doom to get killed and replaced, I don't know, by a black teenage girl.
And also the fact that it's a 9-month event, and if you're wanting to buy into the event, and I'm not saying don't do it, but think about it this way. I bet you ends up being like 120 issues. It might be a $500 event when it's all said and done if you want to actually get into it. All of it.
Yeah. I'd say 120 is probably on the low end.
Yeah. But I want to be somewhat realistic. I don't want to, go and be too hyperbolic here, but that'd be pretty fucking expensive.
Well, let's see. You got 9 months. Marvel releases about 80 books a month. So that's 720 titles, like individual issues over that 9 month period. You figure roughly 1/4 of that is technically ongoing titles. So that's 180. All of those are going to tie in. And then you're going to have probably 10 to 15 4-issue miniseries that will be part of that. So you're probably looking at 240 individual comics. I'd say that's probably closer to the real number. Roughly 1/3 of Marvel's output over that 9 month period, you will be expected to buy, and in order to be fully invested in this event.
I'll go with 1 out of 6. I think that's more likely number personally.
Oh, look at Blood Hunt. Look at War of the Realms.
I looked at all solicitations for the first month of One World Under Doom.
I think the first month is going to be they're going to use that as the setup month.
I've actually got the numbers. So in March, I'm sorry, in February, the first month of One World Under Doom, Marvel is putting out 70 new comic books in total. 11 of them are going to be One World Under Doom.
Okay, that's in month one.
Mm-hmm. So I think about maybe 120, maybe 150, somewhere there.
Okay, I'm not gonna. I won't disagree too hard on that. I think that the math could work on that. I think
still quite substantial.
I think by month 2 you're going to be up closer to 30 books tied into it. By month 4 you'll be at 40.
I don't think they're gonna. They don't do that. They haven't been doing that for their events.
I think they will.
We'll see. I'll be doing the Marvel March solicitations exclusive on the Patreon on Friday, so I'll have a better grasp of then, which obviously be a month too. But it's going to be big.
I think it is. Whether it deserves to be big or not, they're going to make it big.
Well, it deserves to be big because it's Doom taking over the world. Whether the quality warrants.
That's what I mean.
Blowing your load on what should be the biggest story you do this decade. We'll see. I don't know if it will.
You're doing the biggest story idea that you'll probably have for the decade, done at the period where you have the least talent that you will have or have had for the last, over 2 decades.
60 years.
Yeah. This is a creative low point that we've never experienced before at Marvel.
Next up, Brandon's got some predictions for 2025 and 2026. He thinks that we get another Secret Wars storyline when the movie launches comes close to, and then a Galactus event. Do you agree, Doc?
I think you might end up with Galactus near the end of the year. I think that something during Doom will kind of precipitate that. And that would actually be probably the most synergistic that they'd get. I think that 26 is more likely whenever they do the Secret Wars, because I think it'll be 10 years since Hickman's.
That would be the fourth one, though, because we got the first Secret Wars, we got Secret Wars 2, and then we got the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars.
It's the 5th one.
The 5th one?
Yeah, there was Fury's Secret War.
I missed one.
Yeah.
You're right.
That one had nothing to do with like the Beyonders and, universes crashing together. That was, it was called Secret War. It was done in the early 2000s. And it explained that Doom was the one that was funding all of the giant uptick in tech-based heroes or tech-based villains. And it was called Fury's Secret War. They call it in the comics. They called it Fury's Secret War. It was Wolverine, SpiderMan, Luke Cage, Daredevil, Quake. That was the first appearance of Quake in that series, by the way. Maria Hill. But that's where she first appeared in issue 2 of that. It was done by Bendis and I think Gabriel Del Otto. He did interiors for it. It was a good series.
Imagine we do get another Secret Wars, though.
But I think it'll probably be the 10-year anniversary, because it'll be the 10-year anniversary of Hickman's Secret Wars, I believe, in 2026. Also, it makes sense from Marvel's perspective of, hey, let's do an event that is about something that we should time to come out with the movie release, but we're going to do it 2 years too early or 3 years too late.
And it'll have Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig at the helm, so know it'll be better.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I think that's probably more 2026. I think that they might do something Galactus related in late 25, to be a couple of months late on trying to capitalize with the Fantastic Four movie.
Very nice. Next up, DC needs to keep Superman front and center this year. The absolute version is dark and bad. Does that tone change with the James Gunn movie? And can we expect a creative team change in any of the absolute books?
I think that if they're going to do, I think that Superman is going to be the Superman of the DCU. No. What I mean is, I think that you're going to probably have them promoting the DCU Superman to be more like the movie Superman. I think Absolute Superman stays exactly the same way.
Yeah, he's just what he is.
Yeah, they're not changing that.
And I don't think they're not going to change the creative teams, at least for a couple of years, unless they get canceled for low sales, which I do think will happen for Wonder Woman and Superman within 18 months.
I think that it does too, because I don't think either of those titles has any staying power, and I think that they're not anywhere near what anybody actually wants out of absolute versions of these characters.
No. And Batman gotten less fun this week too. That's not what I want. If you're going to do absolute Batman and he's going to be huge and drive a dump truck around, just have him yoking fools and fucking ripping their heads off and stuff. As soon as they get into the interpersonal like drama and stuff like that, I just could care less.
But they really need to lean into the world's dumbest detective.
Oh yeah, that's what it should be. Mm-hmm. Next up, Harley Quinn Fartacular Silent but Deadly. Do we already have the worst comic book of 2025? I thought this was The Onion when I read it online. Do the creators get drawn and quartered for crimes against humanity? Go fuck yourself, DC Comics.
Do I think it's the worst comic of the year? No. It's probably not going to be. Somebody's going to do something.
This is going to be the worst X-Men book.
Absolutely. And the
plus reason, it's not important.
Here's the reason. Because this is supposed to be a ridiculous comic. As a result, it's not going to be bad. You know where true terrible comics lie? In people trying their damnedest to do something serious and meaningful.
Dennis Camp.
Yes.
You're right.
That's where true awfulness comes from. Like a guy that's going up there and just fucking around at the plate with a baseball bat, not really giving a shit, barely paying attention, kind of swinging whenever he feels like. That's not a disappointment when he strikes out. That's the expectation. But when it's the guy that's going up there and he is gung-ho and he swings at fucking everything, it doesn't matter if the ball's 10 feet over his head, he's still swung at it. That's where true awfulness lies. It's when people think that they're great and they're doing something great and they just miss by a fucking mile because they're terribly untalented. That's where you're at. And you get Dennis Camp's Ultimates, you get
Wonder Woman by Tom King.
Yep. You get honestly you get Absolute Batman. You get Ryan North on everything. You get
Ford is fine. He doesn't take anything seriously. It's a hijinks book.
You get Salad Man's Wolverine with the Yeti or the Wendigo drawing. I mean, look, that's where true awful comics lie. Because that Saladin was sitting there going like, this is going to be so impactful. And it literally was just a laughing stock of the internet.
We had a good time with that one.
Absolutely.
The Harley Quinn Fartacular Silent but Deadly. Hopefully it's an April Fool's joke.
Probably is. I mean, it's one thing when when you did the Lobo paramilitary Christmas special, it's supposed to be outlandish and ridiculous. And you got Outlandish
on the Patreon, Doc.
Exactly, and you got Outlandish and Ridiculous. It hit 100%
global cancellation
right
special. Yeah.
Yes, it hits 100% right on fucking target. Like this Harley Quinn, it's stupid, but it's going to hit right on target.
No, because it's written by Joanne Stair, and she tried to be funny in Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville. She's not funny.
She's good. Jokes. What I mean is, it's designed to be bad, but it's just going to be bad in a way that she doesn't expect it to be bad.
Finally, from Brandon, Merry Christmas and have a blessed time with your families. Thank you for the entertainment so far.
Merry Christmas to you too, sir, and a Happy New Year. Well, we'll get to talk to you before New Year's, but
it's true. We will have another podcast for the end of the year.
Absolutely. And so, Merry Christmas to everybody, especially you. And thank you for being here. Thanks for the support.
All right, we got some more questions. We can't sign off quite yet, Doc. I felt like you were about to leave.
No,
I was like, the Doc's trying to get out of here. We're not done yet.
We're not.
We still got Chris, aka the Cat's Eye. Thanks for the recommendations last week. I had assumed that the 2003 Hulk movie wasn't accurate at all, but as a little kid, watching a Jack Green guy leap around and fight tanks was pretty badass. The Norton movie was really good as well. Too bad they recast him and made the character a joke in the MCU. Well, I like the Norton version much better than the Ang Lee Hulk version.
I do too. Now, the Ang Lee movie was somewhat, interestingly enough, both the Ang Lee movie and the Ed Norton movie took inspiration, a lot of it, from the Bruce Jones run on Hulk, where the whole thing about him being on the run and having this communication, and he was Mr. Green and he was talking to Mr. Blue, that was from the Bruce Jones run. And then the whole thing with it didn't have anything to do with his dad, but the Absorbing Man as the main villain, even though they turned his dad into the Absorbing Man. But having the Absorbing Man have all that power and able to absorb all this different stuff and everything like this, and not just be, the guy that puts his hand on a concrete block and then suddenly he's able to turn that, that ball and chain he has into concrete so that it's denser or whatever. All that stuff. And like actually taking his power to like a whole different level, that was primarily done as part of the Bruce Jones Hulk run.
But that's not my problem with the Ang Lee Hulk movie. My problem with the Ang Lee Hulk movie is the pacing. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and they needed to cut an hour off of it because it's supposed to be a fucking action movie. And then every time he tried to incorporate like comic books and doing panels and stuff, it didn't look right. It didn't look cool.
Yeah. When he tried to do like the panel grid for the cinematography on that movie was weird. I appreciated him being experimental. It just didn't work out.
And he wanted it to be like this sweeping epic rather than an action movie. So it ends up being as long as fucking Titanic instead of Predator.
Well, remember, Ang Lee was coming off of doing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
It's true. That's a sweeping epic film. I get it.
Exactly. So that's what he thought they brought him in to do. So he did that.
Yeah, it was paced poorly, but I think Eric Bana was perfectly fine as a Bruce Banner, but I think Ed Norton was the best one. Absolutely. But Ed Norton might be my favorite actor, so I am biased.
Yeah, but Ed Norton never comes back to. He rarely ever works with the same director twice.
Well, and he doesn't. He's an asshole.
Yeah. Well, and additionally, apparently they fucked him hard on because his contract said that he would get final cut decisions on the film, and then they didn't give it to him.
Well, he also rewrote it and stuff, so he had invested a lot in that Hulk movie.
Yeah, and so he didn't even do press for it.
Next up from Chris, what characters do you like that are constantly subjected to poor writing and misinformation being spread, such as writers not doing their job and not reading prior material, or readers just assuming things because they haven't read the character.
Cyclops, Gambit, Wolverine, Jean, Nightcrawler.
Are you just going to say all the X-Men, Doc?
No. And Kitty. I think those are the big ones. Those are the ones that, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Kitty, probably the most out of all of them, because all of them have had their personalities and their history and everything memed, and then the current writers take the memes and believe that that's accurate and then write them as if they were that meme. And that's kind of ruined those three characters.
Man, can't stop thinking about Iron Man for this question too.
Oh God, yeah.
Every time you read the character, almost every modern writer thinks that it's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
and then they can only go back to the Demon in a Bottle story. And there's so much more to this character. There's so many places you can go. There's so many things that he's actually already done, and you're just going back and doing it worse. And I think Iron Man is just for somebody that should be, technically kind of close to being an A-lister, with just the amount of awareness of who he is and his backstory and stuff. He just sucks in comic books. There's no better example than Ackerman's current Iron Man. Fuck, we will probably just review that for Words of the Week next week. I know it's going to be awful. Guaranteed.
Well, I think the problem with Iron Man is that he only has one quintessential villain nemesis, and it's the guy they can't use anymore.
He's dead.
No, the Mandarin.
Oh, I was talking about Ironmonger.
Oh, Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Fuck, Stane is not his nemesis.
He stole his company. He made him an alcoholic. He was manipulating him. Oh, come on. He making him step down as the Iron Man. Obadiah Stane was great.
He was a good manipulating villain, but he can only really be used once. He did it twice. Yeah, and when they do it more than once, it stretches credulity. Kind of the same way that everybody's sick of Norman in the Spider books, because he did it for 15 years and they killed him and they brought him back to just continue doing it.
Does make Peter look pretty fucking stupid.
Yes, but
that's another character that's subject to poor writing and just coming in with assumptions on what Peter Parker is all about and then not getting the character.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Parker luck being not just kind of Murphy's Law, and just making it him be a fucking bitch and a loser. Not
understanding with Batman.
Yeah, that he's just
everybody came out that stupid. He's just a rich guy beating up poor people. If he really wanted to help Gotham, he'd give all this money away. So James Tynion, let's take all his money. Freaking Chip Zdarsky, same thing. Let's take all his money away. Let's take this and this and this away.
Scott Snyder, he never even had money.
Well, that's absolute Batman. It's a different character, but
yeah.
I don't think Scott Snyder particularly has an issue with Batman. He certainly has a better take on Batman than Tynion or fucking Chip Zdarsky.
But getting back to Iron Man, he never had a rogues gallery. His villains suck. Other than you had one or two really great stories with Obadiah Stane, and him just falling for that same thing every time would be ridiculous. Every other one of his villains is just other guy in suit. So his only major nemesis is the Mandarin, and they can't use him because it's Orientalism.
Why is it Orientalism? He's the Mandarin. He's got the 10 rings.
Because he's not
Fu Manchu, dude.
They treat him like it. And if you look at
I saw him was in a Punisher book by Cullen Bunn. Am I right?
Yes,
he sucked. He was awful.
Where it was Punisher War Machine, and I think that
tried to make him like into a businessman or something, and he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't be cool at all.
Yes, and that was during. I don't think it was Cullen Bunn. I think it was the Matthew Rosenberg.
I think you're right. I used to get those two mixed up. Boring white guys at Marvel.
Yeah, Jerry Duggan, Cullen Bunn, Matthew Rosenberg, the generic white guys that can't write. But no, they if you look at some of the great Mandarin stories, he was very. It was Oriental. It was a little bit of Orientalism with ancient Chinese mystic shit, and because remember Fin Fang Foom was he controlled the dragon, and he was always.
But if you use any of that stuff on any character that's not Asian, then you're appropriating culture.
Exactly. So you can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Wonder Woman's also been subjected to very poor writing for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't think there's been a good Wonder Woman run probably since like
George Perez. No.
Greg Rucka's first. But honestly, that's a long time ago now.
Honestly, you had nothing for a very long time. Then you had George Perez, because even like the Marston Wonder Woman wasn't that great. It was just bondage comics. It was PG bondage comics, but it was bondage comics. So nothing for 50 years. And then George Perez, and then a whole lot of nothing again until Greg Rucka. There's only been 2 good periods in Wonder Woman's history. She is culturally important. She has never been an actual A-lister.
Finally, from Chris. Last week you brought up Captain America by Ed Brubaker, which makes me want to hear your thoughts on his Catwoman run if you read it. I personally believe that the first half of that run is nearly perfect, with the Black Mask story arc being one of my favorites in all of comic books. Brubaker writing a noir story with Darwin Cook on art just can't be beat. Real glad it finally got out on Omnibus recently. It completely revitalized the character. Too bad Will Pfeiffer fumbled it all immediately, and the character just hasn't been the same since. I have not read that.
I have not read it. I read his Gotham Central, but I did not read his Catwoman.
I feel stupid, but there's so many comic books I haven't been able to read.
Will Pfeiffer sucks.
Is he worse than Igor Cordy?
He's an artist. He's a writer, not an artist. So I can't compare the two.
Well, you hate Igor Cordy with every fiber of your being.
Sort of, yeah.
Do you hold him in the same regard?
Yes, actually, and for a completely obscure reason, because he's the guy that they brought in to do Captain Atom Armageddon, which was a series set in the Wildstorm universe. And he basically fucking Captain Atom dog walks the entire Wildstorm universe, and they kill Jack Marlowe off panel.
So it's personal.
Yeah, it very much is. It ignores everything that made Wildstorm great, just to have a DC guy come in, smoke everybody, including the Authority.
Well, Wildstorm is a DC property, Doc.
I understand that. But you have a DC character come in to just beat the holy shit out of the entire Wildstorm universe and then blow up to relaunch it. And then in order to get out of this was their basically emergency reset button, and they brought in a hack like Will Pfeiffer to do it.
Better than John Ridley?
John Ridley, what he did was utterly irrelevant to the Wildstorm universe. Human on the Inside was kind of an out of continuity story, but it was
but is
terrible.
He worse than John Ridley?
His impact's worse. His actual writing, no.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Cat's Eye. Now we're on to Bravo Dave, aka Bravo Heart. Happy Saturday, guys. I had a question about the X books. What is going on in them? Is there one that is better in quality than the others? I honestly miss being excited about the X books.
I think as we talked about, X-Force, all right.
It's the most X-Men book, and the the Marcus Toe art is very, very good.
Yeah.
But it's not doing much. It's kind of just hopping around without any like through arc or like interpersonal dynamics to carry the story along with it.
Or direction.
Is the big issue what it's missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I'd say after that, possibly either Wolverine, even though each issue has at least one groan-inducing couple pages, or the Jed McKay adjectiveless X-Men.
As far as what's going on, X-Men and Uncanny X-Men are doing Raid on Grey Malcolm, which will set up the X-Man event or Manhunt event. In the Phoenix book, she is doing something. She's just defeated the Dark Order. Or is it the Black Order that works for Thanos?
The Black Order.
She's just defeated the Black Order single-handedly, and Thanos is coming for her. In Exceptional X-Men, they're trying to teach 3 young people how to be mutants.
I thought it was 4.
It's hard. It's 3. It's Axo.
Braid Girl, Tranny Braid Girl, and
Bronze,
and
Melee,
and giant Asian girl.
Yes,
Asian
so that
man
was really
girl.
bad. I don't really know what they're trying to do in NYX. I stopped reading X Factor, so I'm not fully aware where that book might be. But from what I understand, they're just killing off a bunch of people in that one.
X Factor is, hey, does everybody remember the X-Statics? We're going to do that again, but worse.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot going on in those books. Dazzler's been awful, but thankfully it's over. I didn't read Sentinels after the first issue because it felt like such a nothing burger. Storm had radiation poisoning, but it's been removed, and she's running for Congress and has created a floating city over Atlanta.
But she doesn't have powers, yet she's also an Avenger. So,
but she's also raping Wolverine, so that was exciting.
Yeah. No, that book's also DOA. Dazzler is over, isn't it?
Yes, that one's over.
Mystique is dumb. I mean, if you want the most boring book in history, it's written and drawn by the most boring human being in history.
Yeah, Mr. Shelby.
That's where you go.
But I'm with you, man. I miss being excited about X books. If there was an X-Men book, you want to consider it an X-Men book, that Deadpool team up was certainly decent. Frenetic and good looking. The story is kind of nonsense, but it's Rob Liefeld, so you expect a nonsense story. It's fun.
There's going to be the Cable story, the Cable book that's going to launch this year. But,
David Pepose.
Yeah, but
you've also got Deadpool Wolverine from Ben Percy.
Yeah, which might be okay. I have zero hope for the David Pepose book. Because that guy can't fucking write.
Space Ghost is amazing. It's a great one.
But yeah, that's they're doing an event to set up another event. They're doing a clone of an event to set up another clone of the same event.
Yeah. Not much to be excited about, unfortunately. I wish I had better news for you, Bravo Dave, and I could really sell you on this stuff, but I would I would look for alternatives.
I would look in the back issue bins or keep your money in your pocket.
Next up, he says, Doc, you mentioned on a recent Q&A about the lineups of the teams. Could you shine more light on who you would have on the teams? And what would your be direction of each book?
Who would my
So you're going to have
lineup be?
X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and X Factor. What are your three teams, and what do they do that separates and makes them important?
Honestly, I would probably go with X Factor as the Havoc-led book.
I meant X-Force. I'm sorry about that.
X-Force, I go back to, I mean, it would absolutely have to be a Cable-led book. I would actually, for the first time, put Cable and Deadpool on the team. I would, instead of Wolverine, I'd probably put X-23 on that team in place of, say, Feral. But I'd kind of go with a mix of the classic X-Force, like the Liefeld era X-Force, a little bit of Remender Uncanny X-Force, and a little bit of Craig Kyle, Chris Yost, X-Force from the one that had the Clayton.
You throw an Angel on it?
I'm putting Angel / Archangel on it. I'm putting Warpath on it. I'm putting Cable, Deadpool, Betsy, but she's going to be Psylocke again. And Domino on that team. For X-Men, one's going to have probably Storm, Colossus, Gambit, Rogue, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine. The other one will be Jean, Scott, Iceman. So I'd have most of the original 5 except for Angel because he's over on X-Force. So I'd have the other 4 plus
you want to throw some Banshee in there? You need some Forge?
I'm going to bring in
Morph. Sage. They love her.
I'm going to bring in, you know what? Sage. Yeah, I could see Sage. But I'd also want Morph. And did I give Nightcrawler to the other team?
You did.
Okay.
You put him with Storm.
And
Gateway's grandson, where that guy is?
No, fuck Manifold.
What? You got to have a teleporter. Good guy, he's even better than a teleporter.
No, I don't want a teleporter on that team.
You need a powerhouse.
I do, and Colossus is on the other team.
Wolverine's also technically a powerhouse, and he's on the other team.
I don't consider Wolverine a powerhouse. You know what? I think I might make Juggernaut on this team.
Oh, God. You're doing the same thing as McKay.
No.
He's not a mutant. He's not a human hero.
I understand that. I understand.
What about Strong Guy?
Guido? Nah.
All right, you got your teams together. What is going to be the differentiating factor in what they're actually going to be doing?
Well, I'd say that honestly, this time I'm going to make the Wolverine team the one kind of having to operate from the shadows, and like they're the ones that are kind of on the run. I'd actually probably put them back. I don't know if I'd put them back in the Outback, but maybe this time the jungles over in, the South Pacific somewhere, operating out of, and find out that like one of the old like native temples over there actually has like celestial technology in it.
Like Cambodia or something.
Yeah.
You got lots of temples.
Yeah.
You got lots of pyramids there.
Exactly. So that one, I kind of go there. And I think oddly enough, I'd make Apocalypse kind of the nemesis for that team. And they'd be operating against, the Horsemen. They'd be operating against the Dark Riders, Apocalypse, all that stuff. I think I'd go with Magneto as the nemesis for the Scott team. They're the more traditional X-Men in Westchester, at the mansion. Yeah. Either that, or you know what? I'd put this team, I'd move them to Manhattan in the old X Factor building. So it would be very reminiscent of 80s X Factor. Think I'd go there. And then the X-Force team would be operating out of Camp Verde, where a lot of the other X-Force teams have operated from in the past.
Finally, Bravo Dave says, thanks for the great content. I hope you both have a great time. Great Christmas. I tried to throw in there that he loved us, but he just said he hopes we have a great Christmas.
Well,
I love you both so much.
I hope you have a great Christmas too.
Was it going to happen? There it is. Bam. Those hearts out there.
All right. Yes.
Next up, Marvel 2099, aka Future Flare. Hi, Wes and Doc. Listen to your solicitation videos. It seems like the big two not only can they not come up with original stories, but original solicitations. Green Lantern and Flash sounded the same. Psylocke and X-23 sounded the same. Do you think it's time for a shakeup of the solicitations? I think solicitations for the retailers are fine, but as a means to let readers know why they should be excited about the book, I think they need an enormous shakeup because they are very, very boring and lifeless.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to lay money that most of the solicitations are being done by like the associate editors of the books or the fucking interns. And they're basically trying to figure out the way to do the least amount of work and get the most, product or like deliverable out of it. And so you end up with a lot of repeat regurgitated solicitations. Now,
I had the same thing happen to me in Afghanistan. I had an analyst working for me. He was in the army. And every time I would read up like one of his reports on a subject that, we were potentially thinking about going out there and sending a team out to maybe go apprehend them because they were doing bad stuff. He described every single one of them as being the same person. I was like, listen, dude, you got to actually read this stuff and describe what they've done so we can present it to legal. Like, these read as the most generic same person over and over again. You can't just use the same term. These guys are clearly committing different crimes in the battle space. And he was very upset with me, but I'm with you, man. That once it starts reading the same thing over and over, like it goes fucking mind numbing.
It does. And here's the thing. I got to disagree with you a little bit because the solicitations for the comic shops are the same ones that they're using for the readers.
That's what I'm saying. Those are for the retailers. They should do something else if they want to talk to readers to get them excited because they're so flaccid they don't really do it.
Okay, I mean, I get where you're going with that.
The retailers are just using it for ordering. Okay, I got this book with this creator. I don't think they read the solicitations. I don't think they give a flying fuck. They just want to know that the book's there.
Yeah, but they're those are the same ones that the readership is reading. They read.
That's why I said they need to differentiate them. You can still do those shitty solicitations and send them to the retailers, but if you actually want to get people excited and want them to, get a comic book stiffy to go out there and put it on the pull list, you're going to have to do something more because the solicitations have nothing exciting about them.
I agree. I just don't think that there's any point in doing the same work twice. So just do them better.
Two different audiences. Retailers and comic book readers are not the same people.
Okay, you could still put the title, the issue number, the price, and the creative team in both of them. Just that blurb in the middle.
What I'm saying is, the retailer stuff, I think it works fine for them. You can do whatever you want there, but I'm just saying from a fan perspective, they got to try something else. If they want to include the retailers in it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I just think that you might as well just fix all of them, because only do one solicitation for each book, but actually make it meaningful. Give it to both.
I don't think the way they do solicitations can be meaningful. I think they have to find another way to market this and think outside of the box instead of doing the same thing that they've been doing for 40 years.
Well, you could do that, but that's not solicitation.
TikTok videos.
That's promotion. There's a difference.
They're using the solicitations as marketing and promotion.
Oh yeah. Agreed there. They need to stop doing that. But they also need to stop writing the solicitations as copy pasta. And actually tell us what's going to happen in the fucking book.
Well, they think they should stop telling you what's going to happen in the book and the major appearances and stuff.
Well, you need to tell us what the plot is without spoiling the plot. It's not that hard. They did it for like 40 years.
But it's a new generation. It's new people. There's new technology that's developed, and I feel like they've done nothing to get the word out using that.
Well, I think the problem is that they had a way that worked. Then they went to Whedon speak in the actual solicitations, and that was clever for a year or two. But then instead of going back to what had worked previously, they just kept doing the thing that was losing interest because it was no longer a novelty.
The worst thing is reading a Harley Quinn solicitation, because whatever baby-brained idiot writes that one every month writes it as if Harley Quinn is speaking to you.
Yeah, they did the same. They did the same thing with Deadpool. And I remember whenever they did, they thought it was cute a number of years ago when Deadpool did the recap page of, how they'd always have a recap page of what happened in the previous issue. And then they started doing that as a sequential page with a chibi version of Deadpool giving the flashback and explaining what happened, but in Deadpool speak. And then a bunch of other comics started doing it too.
It's awful.
Yes.
Next up from Future Flare, in XMen, there is a lack of evil mutants and villains due to them joining the X-Men. Nothing new as villains and heroes have flipped sides before. Who would you say flipped the most? You have to choose two, for one from each side. Someone is mostly a hero that joins the villains and a villain that joins the heroes.
Say Magneto.
Certainly Magneto.
And
probably Scott. No, I guess Professor X has kind of gone villain more than anybody.
I think
he doesn't normally join the villains. He just becomes a new villain.
Yes. But he goes against, or he fucks the X-Men and flips
Scott,
over
right?
Beast as well. Yeah. Havoc. Oddly enough, he's done it a number of times.
But they were always fucking with Havoc. They never appreciate him. I understand why Havoc does it. It makes sense to me.
I understand too.
You guys are all dicks.
I understand too.
They keep trying to wipe his girlfriend out of existence.
Well, one of his girlfriends, the other one, they keep making her go good and then go bad and then go good, then go bad as well with Polaris.
Magneto should just be a villain. There's no mutant villains anymore.
Gambit has betrayed the X-Men on a number of occasions. Bishop has betrayed the X-Men on a couple of occasions. So there's a number of them, but I'd say it's got to be Magneto and Xavier as the two big ones that have flopped sides more times than I can fucking count.
This is probably my favorite part of this entire Q&A. This is going to be great. From Marvel 2099. Seeing as it's Christmas, for one time only, let's pretend the membership level is called Wes is Right. Doc has to admit 3 things Wes got right that he got wrong. Oh, talk about Christmas. Love it.
Okay. I don't have any problem with this. I just don't remember them. I'm honestly, dude, give me some examples. I will readily admit them.
Oh,
I don't remember last week.
That gobbledygook, like stupid speak you were talking about, the Green Lantern emotional spectrum, how it was stupid. I was completely right then. That's definitely one of them. Everyone backed me up on that one.
It doesn't matter. I still think it's a terrible idea.
I said that they're going to do 120 issues probably for the 9-month event. Okay. You said like 260. There's no way I wasn't wrong.
I said 240.
About that.
But I can't do that one yet because neither of us have been proven right or wrong.
I think I'm almost certain that I'm going to be right on that one.
I think you have a greater likelihood of being right on that one.
I was wrong on Craven. That was rough.
Let's see. Well, they did do the thing that I said that they were going to do in Wolverine, where he was going to take.
Well, we're not supposed to be doing Doc is right. It's supposed to be Wes is right.
I know, and I'm trying to think of things that we disagreed with that I was wrong on. That's already come to fruition. Oh, you know what? I think I was wrong on Absolute Batman. I didn't think that it was going to be as...
You're right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was right on Hush too, because they didn't relaunch it.
I agreed with you.
Yeah. No, you said that you thought they were going to do a new number 1 for it.
I know. I said that they'd wait until it was over to do a number 1 because they didn't need to.
Somebody said they were going to do a new number 1 for it, and I said that's stupid because they don't need.
They don't have to.
Yeah. It's going to sell gangbusters regardless of. It could be issue 904. Doesn't matter.
Didn't I say that the Fast and the Furious is like the shittiest movie franchise that ever made it past 2 movies?
Yes, I still disagree.
Bam. Wes is right on that son bitch. So give me some confetti.
You can take credit for it, but it's still a fun franchise.
Oh, it's great. No, you said great.
I said it's great. It's great in how, because it's exactly what everybody wants it to be. Ridiculous idiots throwing their Matchbox cars at each other while playing D&D and leveling up in every movie.
The Fast and the Furious franchise has devolved in being like the Dennis Camp Ultimates of fucking movies. The enjoyment is in how bad it is at this point.
Well, I'd say the ones after Paul Walker's dead, I think those have gotten worse. Fate of the Furious.
My favorite interview ever was Vin Diesel was like, yeah, I mean, Fast and the Furious was always supposed to be a 9-part story. We got to have 3 more. I was like, what are you talking about?
Except for it's at 10, 11 comes out this year, I think.
Yeah, but that was after the 6th one came out. They're like, you're going to do 3 more? It's like, it was always envisioned as being a 9-chapter saga. I was like, no, it wasn't.
Like, dude, the only reason you even came back is because they promised they'd make some more Riddick movies that you wanted to do.
Yeah. There we go. Also, that's the closest we're getting to Wes is right. I am right most of the time.
Dude, I just give me more examples because that have already things that you've said that have been proven right, and I will gladly admit them.
Doc is digging his heels in.
I'm not digging my heels in.
Finally, Future Flare says, Merry Christmas and hope everyone had a great day full of food, drinks, and gifts.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, at least for me.
We got a couple days. This will be up on the Patreon, I think, the day before Christmas as well. But we got big plans, and it's going to be awesome.
Yes, awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. I got a tiny little bit of Christmas shopping to finish today, and then I am done.
Judge Smalls, aka the Jurist, have either of you read any of the Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff? If so, is it worth checking out?
I've not. I'm not a Fourth World fan. I think that while I understand that it adds a lot to the DCU, it's also really not my thing. It's like the same way that the Eternals, I don't think add that much to the Marvel universe. I don't think, and I think it takes something that the DC universe was one thing before the Fourth World, and then it became something different after.
I have read some of it. I have not read as much as I would like to, but what I have read is actually pretty darn good. It's very, very intriguing. It is very, very fucking dark, though. Like, so if you like joyful, hopeful type stories, and certainly you get a little bit of that in there, but if you want something that's upbeat and not kind of borderline depressing, I wouldn't check it out because it is very, very, very dark stuff. But it is Jack Kirby. It's original stuff, and it's really cool. And I like last week's New Gods a lot. I thought it was actually really good. But the stuff that I have read, and I have not read as much as other people out there, I have enjoyed. It's really interesting, well-crafted, well-thought-out stuff out there, but it is very, very dark.
I've heard great things about it. I know a lot of people really like it. I will have to defer to others. Look, you get into DC stuff, it's just not my wheelhouse.
Yeah. And you're super gay.
Maybe there is your third thing that I'm right about, that you're right about and I'm wrong.
That you're gay? I know I'm right.
Sure. I'll take it as a win. You can have it as a win.
There we go. Get some confetti going.
Yes, I'm coming out on the stream. My girlfriend's going to be really mad.
Definitely check that out. I think you'll like it, but you do have to have a certain like frame of mind. Yeah. And a lot of stuff today trends dark anyway. So to where that would have been very jarring and breaking or kind of groundbreaking at the time, it is a little bit more normal now.
I feel like the Fourth World is another universe that should have existed on its own, that DC hammered into their universe. And it would live better as its own pocket universe.
Okay, so earlier I said that was going to be my favorite part of the show. This is actually my favorite part of the show from Judge Smalls. Doc, I hope this Doc is wrong thing isn't becoming a trend, but you are wrong, sir. You mentioned that Creature Commandos never had anything good. The New 52, Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. series was great. Didn't last that long, probably due to low sales, but it had tons of monster mayhem. Also, some of the older Seven Soldiers stuff was really good as well. Obviously, these are just my opinions, and my opinion is Doc is wrong.
Okay, so Seven Soldiers, I don't consider that Creature Commandos. I understand that it's the same vein.
You're trying to talk yourself out of being wrong.
No. I think when I think Creature Commandos, I think the title Creature Commandos. And it'd be like saying, Creature Commandos sucks. Yeah, I wouldn't say that Excalibur is X-Men.
It's an X-Men book.
Well, that's like, okay, then fine. Then Swamp Thing is a Creature Commandos book.
No.
Well, they're both monsters. They're all monsters.
They're not connected to each other for the most part. And
yeah,
Swamp Thing is its
same
own thing.
with the Excalibur.
No, Excalibur is an offshoot of the X-Men, and it's connected.
In the loosest possible way.
And the fact that all the X-Men characters are in Excalibur? Or all the characters in Excalibur are X-Men?
No,
former X-Men?
only maybe half of them at the most, because you had not at the peak you had Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus. Every other of like the other 4 or 5 characters in Excalibur were not X-Men characters. Megan, Captain Britain.
You're just saying all kinds of nonsense to get wiggle your way out of this Doc is wrong point that it's kind of got you nailed here with Seven Soldiers.
Okay, the Seven Soldiers. When I'm thinking of Creature Commandos, Seven Soldiers, it doesn't really. I consider that a completely other thing. Now, Seven Soldiers was great. I just don't think that Creature Commandos has a lot of, great.
This is what happened, Judge. Doc wanted to say something hyperbolic. He wanted to go over the top. He said, "There's never been anything good Creature Commandos." Completely forgot that Seven Soldiers existed.
Well, I didn't forget. Oh, I forgot that Seven Soldiers existed. Yes, but what I don't because I don't consider it a Creature Commandos comic. I consider
what about
Creature Commandos
Frankenstein, Agent of Shade?
I you know what? Honestly, I never read it.
Nor have I, but everyone talks very, very highly of it. Apparently, it was really good.
But look, for the most part, you don't have a lot of source material for Creature Commandos that is successful. Because here, look, whether or not that New 52 Creature Commandos book was great or not, nobody cared about it. Like, I can sit here and yell and scream about how Wildstorm was the greatest universe ever, but not enough people bought it, which means you have to consider commercial success as well as execution. And by that standpoint, most books that are canceled weren't that great because nobody read them.
There's lots of great books that didn't have sales. Don't be think of it like that. There's lots of great terrible movies that have lots of box office, like the Fast and the Furious. Right now, I guess Absolute Bat or Superman's doing really well. That doesn't mean it's a good book. It means it's doing really well, better than it should be.
And first of all, I don't consider pretty much any success in the first 6 issues in the modern relaunch variant cancellation repeat model until you get to issue like 6 or 7. I don't even start counting that as successful or not because it needs to have staying power. And look, if it can't even have staying power in the variant relaunch hype everything rinse and repeat era, then it's not good, unfortunately.
Another take where Doc is wrong and Wes is right. This is also for you, Doc. What is your routine when you buy a raw book? What products do you use when you want to keep them protected? I know you know your stuff. Well, what do you do when you're raw dogging a comic book?
Okay, so I'm assuming you mean back issues.
Yes.
First thing I'm doing is obviously I've already made the decision to buy that book, which means that I've personally looked over the book, examined it, made sure that it's in a condition that I feel is acceptable and price wise is reasonable. Then I'm taking that book home. Unless it's already really, really well bagged and boarded. A lot of times they're still just using poly bags, cheap backing boards. I'm taking that book home. First thing I'm doing is taking the tape off, pulling it out of the bag. If there's got a little bit of like waviness or whatever, I may press it at home. And I don't have a press. But
do you do like prison style where you grab like the iron, like a grilled cheese, and press that some bitch?
No. I'm not doing anything with heat. I'm basically going to my main bookshelf of actual books and finding the heaviest motherfuckers there. I'm putting one heavy one on the bottom, and that's perfectly flat. I'm putting the next heaviest right on top, and then that's also the flattest. And then I'm just stacking. I'll basically stack about 10 big heavy books on top of it. Let it sit for 2 or 3 days. It should take out most of the waviness, especially if there's just like minor spine curl and stuff like that. It takes care of a lot of that, even without adding any heat or moisture. And then it's going. I always keep a stock of Mylar and fullbacks that are already prepared. In fact, actually, I built a little caddy that sits on my desk in my nerd room that right now has silver/modern age Mylars. It has golden age Mylars. It has some magazine size, and then it has divider cards as well as I tape them up using painter's tape because Scotch tape doesn't like it likes to seal onto Mylar. It doesn't like to be easily opened, whereas painter's tape has good hold, but doesn't adhere like and really cure onto it. So I can open the bag back up and take a book out. Also, there's less risk of tape peel with painter's tape. And I have my label maker for making a new label for a divider card. That's all in my little caddy sitting on my desk.
How could you see you walking around with the label maker?
I just have one of the little ones. It's actually
my grandpa had labels on everything. You're going to the beach and he brought his beach chairs, labels.
Yeah, this one,
the cooler, label on the cooler.
This one this one's just like a small, it's about the size of a cell phone. And it's just the print, it's just the printer. So I can do design and everything through an app on my phone, and then just it Bluetooths the data over and just prints.
This is Dot's butter. Anyone touches this butter, you're done.
Yeah, so I'll use that, and I do that I started doing that for divider cards, mostly because my fucking handwriting is terrible, and in order to read them effectively, you got to use like a Sharpie on them. I fucking hate it. So I switched out all of my divider cards recently and bought a label maker. So I'll actually do like the logo of the masthead as the label on the
so you're not just a labeler, you're a designer.
Yeah, I'm not designing. I'm literally just finding a vector image on Google and then slapping that onto the label and print that on the label maker. So I have to find black and white because it's a heat printer. So it has to be black and white in order to be legible. So
very nice.
Yeah, I'll take the book home, press it out as best as I can, and then I rebag and board it, and then it goes into either my to read pile or my, say it's a variant of a book I already have. It's going right into the filing cabinets.
Next up from Judge, this week's versus, who wins, Silver Surfer or Orion from the New Gods? I don't know a ton about Orion, but I know he's badass. Very cool character.
I'm going to go with, I don't know much about Orion either, but so I'm going to have to go with Silver Surfer because the power cosmic is freakishly strong.
So I believe Orion's stronger because Orion is immortal and Silver Surfer is only almost immortal. So one of them can die and one of them can't. And then Orion is also the son of Darkseid, and he has like cosmic powers too.
Yeah, and Galactus could eat Darkseid.
Yeah, but he wouldn't die because he would stay. At least Orion wouldn't die because he's immortal. He'd be like in there, like punching him in the stomach and stuff from the inside.
He could.
We're talking about two characters with enormous, like, very high levels of power. I imagine it all comes down to who you talk to, but from the way I understand it, Silver Surfer can die, Orion can't. So I assume that he wins.
Oh,
I mean, obviously super strength, super power,
but
he has a healing factor to him. He is highly trained in combat. Very, very deadly.
The thing is, immortality only works if you still exist. And the power cosmic can, if you properly channeled, literally erase you from reality.
I haven't seen Silver Surfer do that.
I'm not. Silver Surfer doesn't. I don't know if he can, but
I've never seen him do it because I'm not that I've read every Silver Surfer comic, but I've read a lot more Silver Surfer than Orion.
And you can the power cosmic can atomize something. So, are you still, once you've been atomized, are you still immortal? I mean, you're down to literally your base elements. Are you still even a person? Are you still a being at that point? I'm going to go with no. So, that's just my opinion.
It gets very difficult once you get to
when you're at that level,
those kind of powers,
power scale. When you're at that level, this isn't about punching people anymore. This is about this is literally nature of reality level stuff.
Yeah, it's like Superman versus Hulk is easy.
Yeah.
Superman kicks him in the balls and he falls in the sun and he dies.
And if Hulk kicks Superman in the balls and he flies into the sun, he's fine.
Yeah, because he'll get more powerful as he goes towards it.
Exactly.
Unless the Hulk recharged.
Unless the Hulk kicks him into a red sun.
Well, yes, but there's no red sun around our universe, so those ones are tough. But I kind of go with Orion, I think. But I'd have to read up on it more, I think. That was a tough one. Finally, from the judge, thank you both for taking the time. I hope the entire Think Critical family has a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. God bless you all.
Well, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. God bless you. And I hope you and your family have an amazing Christmas. And hopefully we all have very fruitful New Year's ahead of us. Final question from American Texan, a.k.a. Mr. Magnificent. I've come to really enjoy the narrative storytelling books like Noir and Conan. With Conan especially, the narration really brings out the subtext underneath the art, and I love it. Any other recommendations for that kind of comic book? So when I read this question, Doc, and we kind of actually got this one while we were recording, so I haven't thought about it a ton, but when I started thinking about what he was saying, and I really like that Conan book from Jim Zub, and there is a lot of purple prose to it, like the name that immediately comes to my mind is actually two names, really, is Claremont and Byrne. They loved the subtext in purple prose and adding context to like how the character feels as they're entering this particular landscape because it's so cold they can feel it to the bone and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel like both of them were really good at that. And you know what? David Michelini, wildly underrated at doing that, but he did a lot of that. If you read those SpiderMan in like the 300s, he did a lot of that without as much of the purple prose. But
also Stan Lee used a lot of narrative exposition in purple prose as well. But I think Claremont was better at it, personally.
I think Claremont was too.
But if you read a Stan Lee comic book, when he was writing 8 books at Marvel and they were doing the Marvel method, tons of narration in those.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I do have to say Claremont, Byrne, and David Michelini is my number 3 on that.
As far as modern people, when I hear what he's saying that he likes there, my head kind of goes to Criminal from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. There's also a good deal of narrative exposition as to what the characters are feeling and like the environment of the room and stuff.
I'd say Ed Brubaker in general, because he did a very good job of that on Criminal. Obviously, he did it on Captain America.
One. Yeah.
He did it a little less on Captain America, but he still did it. He did it a lot in Kill or Be Killed. He did it in Velvet.
Doing a lot in Sleeper right now, which we're reviewing on the Comics Guild.
Yep. He did it in Gotham Central.
Yeah.
So I'd say Ed Brubaker is probably the modern master of this. Because he did it as a narrative tool, whereas people like Bendis or even Mark Miller did a lot of that through exposition. That is the more common modern method of explaining this, because they kind of eliminated thought bubbles and then they reduced the amount of narrative involvement in the story. They put it into the dialogue of the characters. So they do it more through exposition than and that can be okay, but it feels like unnatural because people don't talk like that.
Yeah, it can suck.
Yeah. And a lot of writers went so far on it that you're like, Jesus Christ, it's just like a text wall.
Yeah.
So, say Brubaker's probably the modern master of it.
Yeah, if you haven't read the Criminal series, there's a lot in there, a lot of great books, and I think you'll enjoy that when it's kind of all tied together. It kind of jumps around a little bit, but it's really, really cool stuff. I do want to say thank you very much to Doc. Merry Christmas, and I do apologize. There's actually a party going on down the street, so if we got too much of like the noise of people walking by and stuff, I do apologize. Literally nothing I could do. It's Christmas time and people are celebrating.
Absolutely. And you all of you listening right now, you guys should go out and start celebrating too.
Absolutely. But before you do that, head over to Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. If you're viewing this on YouTube and you haven't backed us there, this is a kind of awesome entertainment in geek speak that you'll be getting there every single week. Multiple podcasts, different guests out there. Obviously, Doc is the superstar on the Doc is Right tier, which is about to be the Doc or the Wes is Right tier. And I hope to see y'all very soon.